Good afternoon, traders and investors. Will back here with another one. Nice Thursday today. We got some good inflation data that I'm going to bring to you guys. Markets reacting kind of mixed though. We also had earnings from Alibaba, which we'll go over very quickly. And we will, of course, get into our major indexes on the breakdown, our big tech names. And for my portfolio, no change on the day in positions. So I'll do a big recap tomorrow. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it right away, shall we? Now, as you can see, guys, on the day here, SPY just pretty much ending flat and QQQ barely edging away at 0.18% gain. These were actually up massively on the day and retraced the entire rest of the day after 10 o'clock. You see on the heat map here, fairly mixed market. This entire heat map was green on the morning all the way through 10-11 a.m. Eastern. However, started retracing hard towards the last 2/3 of the day. On the group screener here, you can see on the relative performance, one-day relative, consumer cyclical, and services with a bit of outperformance here. That was usually led by Amazon and Tesla with some good days, and services, Meta and Google. But for the rest, guys, you can see we were actually not doing too well. Technology did edge out a bit of a gain here, but for the most part, a lot of our industries were mixed on the day. So a bit of a mixed reaction after inflation came in, and we'll check at it now. But all in all, guys, a good report to start off here. July CPI report shows inflation gauge rose 3.2% less than expected, which is very good. They were expecting somewhere around 3.3. We got 3.2, so comes in line below expectations here, but still above our June report. June was 3%, so now we have 3.2 for July. Slight uptick, which we were predicting on the channel, but not that bad at all. At least we didn't come in higher than expected, right? So slight uptick, but still good in my opinion. Still shows a general overall downtrend in inflation. So let's get into it very quickly here. Rose 3.2% from a year ago in July, slightly below expectations, which is good. Core CPI ran at 12-month 4.7%, below the estimate. The estimate was 4.8. Both measures were up 0.2% on the month. Normal, June was 3, now we're at 3.2, right? So almost all of the monthly inflation increase came from shelter costs, which rose 0.4%. We're up 7.7% from a year ago, guys. So I want to make this clear. About 85 to 90% of all the inflation that we saw in this report right here is due to rent and housing. Those are usually lagging to the rest of assets. So we're expecting a housing slowdown. So I am also expecting that in the future, these metrics on shelter will come down. It's just for now, since they are a lagging industry, real estate is known to be the lagging industry in relation to the rest of the market. When they do come down, expect more significant declines in inflation, right? So while inflation's come down well off its 40-year highs mid-2022, it is still considerably above the 2% level where the Federal Reserve would like it. So that is completely normal, guys. So Jerome Powell in next meeting does have a margin here where he can increase 0.25% and have a justified reason to do that. Now, if we jump over here, I just want to show you guys here the steady decline in inflation that we've been having since last June, right? So very, very, very good declines in inflation here. Also in core, which is your dotted line here, the light blue line. And you can see that we have had a slight uptick here in relation to June, but ever so slightly, guys. So you really like to see that. We were expecting a slight increase because the summer months are usually when people go out and spend more money, but at least inflation is not skyrocketing up, and we still beat inflation. We still beat the expectations, right? So I'm going to show you guys this as well. Let me pull up the chart here. Did I get rid of it? I think I actually got rid of it. My bad, guys. Let's see here. All right. So we're going to get into this, right? Where inflation is and isn't. I always bring up this chart because it's very, very interesting. As you can see, guys, rent. Major, major, major factor. Pets and pet products, not that much because not everybody has a pet, of course. Rent and housing are two major indicators here that are still sticky. Restaurant meals still up there a bit, and obviously personal care, hotel room, and whatnot are also slightly high. But for the most part, guys, a lot of things are trending down to our 3.2% overall target. And obviously to the downside, guys, we do have a couple nice things that are trending down, right? Transportation, school books and supplies, used vehicles, rental cars, airfare and gasoline are major contributors down here. So we are getting fairly good numbers to the downside in a lot of cyclical items, right, that were kept hot last year, but they're coming down now. Overall, I do like this report. I was expecting slightly worse, so I'm pleasantly surprised at the outcome of this report. All in all, inflation is on the downtrend that we want to be seeing. Now, before we get into SPY here, I want to take you guys over one quick earnings, and that is Alibaba, right? So Alibaba popped on the day, almost up 5%, giving back a lot of the gains with the market. However, decently up on the day. They had very, very good earnings. I'm pleased with these earnings, and it's going to make me consider Alibaba for a position here in the near future. They reported earnings, double beat here, right? Earnings smashed the EPS estimate by a lot, 20%, and also coming in above the revenue expectations as well. Very good report by Alibaba. I like what I'm seeing by them. Reports solid earnings beat. Revenue rises most to September 2021. Very, very good. They grew 14% revenue year on year for this quarter, right? The company's push into overseas market bore results, with revenue, international commerce, retail surging by 60% year on year. Very, very solid numbers. They delivered a solid quarter as we continue to execute our reorganization, which is beginning to unleash new energy across our business. They have been very good, guys, in the last year of cutting down on costs and really focusing on their core business. I really like this report a lot, okay? So all of this to say pretty much that Alibaba, the moral of the story is that they have been restructuring their company, cutting costs, and it's finally starting to pay off. So Alibaba has been in their bottoming process for a while at this point, guys. You can see it, right? And now they're starting to run a bit of a leaner business, starting to generate more earnings, and hopefully we come back to our pre-2020 margin levels, which are in excess of 20%. So as long as they can continue on the upside, guys, I do believe that Alibaba is set up for a nice recovery story. They've also been putting more and more focus here on their cloud business and in AI. So cloud business reported revenue growth of 4%, which is fairly decent, right? But you know what they're doing here is they see a strong demand in its cloud business for training artificial intelligence models and related services. So we believe the growth opportunity driven by AI services has just begun. So very, very bullish. I know AI is a bit of a buzzword recently, but it's very good that Alibaba is investing in AI once again to drive down costs and to be able to target customers better. Very, very solid report from Alibaba. I like them at this price level. They are still crushed. If I can take positions here in the lower $90, I will definitely be nibbling on this company. This is what I was waiting for. So very beautiful result from Alibaba. I am quite happy with that. Now, let's get into our major indexes here. So SPY, as you guys can see, still battling here with our 444 previous resistance, which is now support. The bears unable to flush. We've now been stuck in this low area for about the last 3 days, right? So today, very brutal day. We actually popped up, guys, from yesterday's close. We were up over 1.32% and gave it all back. We almost ended up negative, right? Gave it all back. So you can see, guys, that in the past 3 days, bit of a similar concept, right? We move up a bit and then we sell off hard, move off a bit and sell off hard. Even here, pretty much Monday's movement was good, but then Tuesday morning at the open, we sold off hard. So bulls, I mean, there's a battle raging at this level right now. What is it doing though? It's bringing down our RSI a lot. As you can see on the daily, even on the weekly here, we are coming down in the RSI, still in a daily downtrend, yes, but bears currently unable to keep flushing the lows. Inflation report didn't give them the juice that they would have liked to see, to really flush the lows in a considerable fashion. So still battling here, still in a daily downtrend. What I need to see from the bulls eventually is an engulfing move of a previous high, setting up enough space for a daily trend change. But as of now, guys, still in weekly consolidation. We'll see. We do have, if we smash this support level, we have some nice support down here at 437 and then all the way down to 431 respectively. So still a lot of space on the weekly. Keep an eye on this 12 EMA as usual, 439. QQQ, same thing, right? Daily downtrend is still a thing, but now the past couple days, guys, bears have not been able to flush. They flushed our previous resistance, which was then support. They flushed this area. Now we have to battle with the 363 area and then 357 respectively. On the weekly, what does that look like? You will see 364 is this 12 EMA. So we're getting some nice confluence here. This little support pocket and your 12 EMA is right down here. So we'll see how the week ends here today, guys. But definitely a battle raging on. Bears are not able to gain a lot of ground. And keep in mind, guys, we're already down now about 5% off of our 52-week highs on QQQ. The RSI is coming down quite nicely on the daily, if I do say so myself, after being overbought for quite some time here, all the way since May. And now finally, even right, since this end of May period, right? No longer overbought on the weekly. So if anything, these 2 weeks of consolidation has allowed markets to cool off quite a bit, right? So going to open up some buying opportunities, but same principle, as long as we're in a daily downtrend, guys, we are still just looking for weekly consolidation. We'll see when it bottoms out. How do you know it's bottomed out? When the bulls put in an engulfing move and then set a higher low compared to our previous low and then raise right here, right? But for now, still in a daily downtrend, but a lot of decent defense levels coming up, so we'll see how bulls deal with that. XLF financials, XLF also still stuck in this range past 3 days. We've been kind of stuck here. So as of now, guys, right, bears unable to flush for the daily downtrend. They tried for it, unable to get it done. As of now, still in weekly consolidation, anything above 32.58 is just going to be your weekly higher low. This is a beautiful bull flag right here. Even if they do start coming down a bit, we have our moving average support here as well, but it's still just looking for that weekly lower high. And then I do believe once we get it, we will be pushing up into our 36, 37 area of resistance, right? So bulls playing a decent amount of defense here. But if we flush these lows, 34.69, expect some follow through. And at that point, we will still just be hunting for the weekly higher low. Once we get it, guys, the next upswing should put us up into this 36, 37 area here, as financials are very well positioned in my opinion. Now, XLV healthcare, brutal day on healthcare, guys. We were up, as a matter of fact, at one point today, guys, on healthcare, 1.2%, and we ended up red. So big gift back on a day. I was saying this yesterday. If we continue to push, this will be our resistance area. Very logical here. So at this point, guys, if we can't push above this in this swing, what we might end up with is a tightening range. I was saying this. When the bears take back so much of a move, you are very likely to get a tightening range. With today's candle formation and the give back today, would not surprise me in the slightest if we start retesting these moving averages right here. So very possible we get a tightening range for some accumulation before potentially moving higher here. On the weekly, same principle. Anything above 129, we were looking for a weekly higher low, may end up getting some tightening range action. So just keep an eye on that, guys. These resistance areas are key if you want to smash them to the upside. But for now, bulls look like they're running out of juice to really get over these top levels. So keep an eye out for your tightening range. I mean, a move like this would be very consistent for XLV. Usually it won't just flush like that. If you ask me personally, I'm expecting a somewhat of a tightening range as the rest of our markets try to find their local bottoms. Now, IWM Russell, day continues. Why? Inflation had a little uptick today, and you guys know that growth really does not like inflation reads that are on the upside, right? So daily downtrend continues on IBM and Russell, right? So the bears are in control of the daily. What are we looking for? Still looking for your weekly higher low. Keep an eye on your moving averages down here. Good confluence with previous horizontal resistance, which is now going to be acting as support. Good level, anything above 180 is just going to be your weekly higher low. If I had to put my money on it, I would say that we're going to probably get a nice little bounce here. You obviously don't want to see bears take back too much of the move because you could end up with like XLV, just with the potential of a tightening range. So if they put in a stop here, it still would be shallow enough to allow for an upswing here, potentially testing our 198-200 psychological resistance. This is a big one, guys. So it stands to argue that they will need the support potentially of the rest of the market here if they are to smash this. But as of now, as with most of our major sectors, we are still just in weekly consolidation. Dow Jones names solid, but giving back gains just as the rest of the market did today. They gave back pretty much over 1% in gains. So we are still in a tightening range here at the top of the move. So as long as you're not in a daily uptrend, right? This is a tightening range, no longer in a daily uptrend, but not yet in a daily downtrend either. Still have not been able to flush 35,000. If you don't see the flush of 35,000, it is still a tightening range. And if they do flush it and set the daily downtrend, well, same thing as if they stay in this range. We're just looking for our weekly higher low. Keep an eye on your confluence, horizontal support 34,500, and your 12 EMA, still just looking for the weekly higher low for further momentum to the upside. And in my opinion, guys, value names, once again, are still positioned quite well in relation to growth to have a little bit more of upside. If we get this weekly higher low and start pushing, guys, we are all the way to our all-time high resistance area. So keep an eye on that. But in my opinion, guys, if we do get slightly negative inflation catalysts here for August and through September, I do think that value names are positioned the best to deal with it. So just keep that in mind. Bitcoin not doing too much today again, right? So once again, one day of upside and then consolidation again. So giving it back on Bitcoin. We are still just looking for the weekly higher low. Bulls unable to do much of anything, still struggling in this whole resistance area, right? Until I see a close above 30,000, I cannot say that the daily uptrend is regained. The bulls have created some space here. You wouldn't want to see them lose it all again. So until I can see the bulls put in a nice little more upswing, close into the 30,000s, then potentially come back on, sit on it, I will not be confident in saying that your weekly higher low is set for further upside. So Bitcoin as of now doing a whole lot of nothing. Apple still in the process of earnings bottoming, right? So Apple, eventually, when this bounce gets underway, guys, you will have to look. We are now very oversold on the RSI, the same as we were after earnings. And you can see Apple usually doesn't stay here. I'll bring this back again. Apple usually doesn't stay here for long before getting somewhat of a bounce going. So it's all going to be crucial, guys, the size of the bounce, right? So if we only bounce up this much and then continue to the low end, well, we can expect a potential flush and weekly consolidation continues. But if we bounce very good, then you open the door for potential tightening range or even a recapture of the daily uptrend. So we're still waiting for Apple's bottoming process to come to an end. Very, very good though. For the past 4 days, have not been able to flush this 177 area, right? So setting somewhat of a temporary bottom here. We'll see how the week ends up. We'll see how next week plays out as well. But eventually, just when the Apple bounce does happen, measure the size of the bounce, and we'll be covering it a lot on the channel. My sweet spot 175 down to 170, obviously. Apple still in weekly consolidation. Anything pretty much above their 160 area is just going to be for a weekly higher low. Decent support. My zone here is very, very decent support if we do pull down into that area. So just keep that in mind, guys. Just be patient with it. Sometimes these earnings bottoming processes take a bit of time, but when we get the bounce, measure the size of the bounce. AMD still doing absolutely nothing, still range bound once again, right? So range bound, either one of two things has to happen, guys. We're going to have to get a break here of our 120 area to the upside to really confirm that your weekly bottoms are in, or if they break to the downside here, guys, well, unfortunately, your monthly consolidation is just not done yet. So I'm really waiting as AMD gets closer and closer to the downside of this range. I will be targeting next week puts in the 104 down to the 100 area. But for now, AMD fairly muted, right? We're eventually going to have to start setting some trends here. But the range bound action has been quite brutal over the past month and a half almost at this point, right, guys? Since the 23rd of June here. So pretty brutal range, pretty wide range as well, right? Over $10 range for AMD. So what you really need to see bulls do, guys, eventually, if you want them to recover here, we are going to have to make a considerable push, sit higher, and then crack this resistance. When that happens, guys, I'll be able to tell you that your weekly bottoms are set, and most likely also your monthly bottoms, monthly higher lows will be set. But for now, still in consolidation mode. Doing a good job, though, of cooling off the daily RSI. The weekly RSI is also cooled off. So AMD, if they do start to push up higher, they are positioned well to be able to have some legs and push up into the 130 area. If we break down for here, guys, this pocket is very decent support in my opinion. So keep an eye on that. Amazon here. Amazon Good job by the bulls defending, right? So Amazon not losing too much here today, ending up right in the middle here, up 0.52%. So Amazon still in their post-earnings consolidation. Once again, keep an eye. Your confluence area, 135.50 with the 12 EMA down here. If we do continue to push to the downside, still just looking for your daily higher low, right? So a lot of space for Amazon bulls to set that higher low, and then further continuation of the upside is the most likely move. Unless we start taking back too much of it, then you may end up at best with a tightening range or a daily downtrend. So we'll see how it plays out, but as of now, most likely scenario, just looking for the higher low. Good support here for another upswing, and at that point, you'll want them to crack the 140 area. We're looking at resistance all the way up through 145, and then not much, guys, up until 165, 170. So these past 2 weeks of consolidation for the markets has been fairly good for the markets as a whole, right? It's cooled off a lot of that RSI and whatnot, but also these stocks that have popped a lot after earnings, Amazon, Facebook, Google, have not been able to run too much since then. So kind of unfortunate for them, even though they are outperformers. So just keep an eye on that. The weekly bulls, even on Amazon, weekly bulls control a lot. Tons of space to set a weekly higher low, anything above 126, right? So bulls, full in control on Amazon still. Let's go down to Google. Google also, bulls here playing some decent defense, flat on the day in relation to yesterday as well. So this week on Google, pretty much trapped right here in the 130 area, right? So same thing with Google, kind of like Amazon, has been muted. The markets as a whole have not been favorable in the past 2 weeks. So these things have not been able to run. So still just consolidating here at the highs in somewhat of a tightening range, right? But just keep an eye. If we flush this 128 level, that would be your daily downtrend set. It would start weekly consolidation, further consolidation. Anything above 116 is just a higher low on the weekly, so tons of space to work with. But I would really like if Google is able to hold this whole 128 area, key level for them. But if they do keep dropping, guys, expect this potentially gap to be filled here all the way down to 123. But like I said, tons of space, guys. And if we do come down to 123, look. It's just weekly consolidation. Your weekly 12 EMA is right here as well. And the bulls are set up nice to be able to recover in the event that happens. So Google still looking good despite the rest of the market. Now, let's get on to Meta. Meta dropping a bit today, but still ending up positive, not able to flush yesterday's low, right? So Meta, daily downtrend confirmed at this point, right? So we're just in weekly consolidation. The gap is not quite filled. The earnings gap here, 301, would be a full fill of this little gap right here. So daily downtrend, still in weekly consolidation. Nothing changes. Still looking for pretty much anything above 288 to be your weekly higher low. If ever we lose the weekly higher lows, then it will be monthly consolidation confirmed, and Meta, between you and I, can afford to take 1 or 2 months off as a breather as they consolidate, accumulate at lower levels for potential further move to the upside later in the year, right? So we're going to take this one day at a time, guys. But at this point, guys, daily downtrend is confirmed. So eventually you will need to see the bulls engulf one of these moves and reset the daily trend to the upside. But as of now, daily downtrend and weekly consolidation is still underway. Microsoft, same principle as Meta, right? Daily downtrend has been just confirmed and reconfirmed. Playing some good defense here, guys. This is the defense zone. Support, very decent support zone. But if we lose this, we're coming down to 313-ish. This little guy right here, right? So bulls playing decent amount of defense. The bears not able to flush too much. You guys can see since Tuesday, the bears are having a tough time with this 322 area, right? And the drop is kind of smoothing out. It's not as aggressive as it was, right? So Microsoft bulls playing a decent amount of defense, but still bears gaining a slight bit amount of ground every time. Microsoft obviously still in weekly consolidation at this point, guys. Decent pullback on Microsoft, right? 11-12% off the tops. Decent little pullback here. My sweet spot, 307 down to 285. If we keep dropping here, you really don't want to see Microsoft lose this 322 level, because at that point, guys, you know, like, even though there's a lot of space above our 275 level, right, for full weekly higher lows, right, you know, it's still a big level. And if you do drop it here, guys, I do believe we're going to come down to this little 310 pocket right here is the next available location, right? So we're going to take this one day at a time. If you want to see the bulls recapture, how do you know that this weekly move has bottomed out? Very simple. keep an eye on your daily downtrend. Eventually, the bulls need to engulf, reset the daily uptrend. When they get the daily uptrend back, guys, you will know that your weekly bottom is most likely in, okay? So keeping it simple. NVIDIA, same thing, right? Daily downtrend is still confirmed once again, right? So as of now, still in weekly consolidation. You guys should know this. Daily downtrends, weekly consolidation. It's very, very, very simple until the proof is on the bulls now, guys. If you want weekly consolidation to be over, then eventually the bulls are going to have to step in, engulf a move, set a higher low, and then reverse the daily uptrend. You will then know that your weekly consolidation is most likely over, right? So as of now, guys, key level on NVIDIA, 400 level right here, right? This little low right here, super, super, super key. It's these guys right here, right? It is your weekly higher low at 404, right? So if you lose that potentially, monthly consolidation will be underway and confirmed at that point. Lose the weekly, monthly consolidation. It's just like lose the daily, weekly consolidation. You lose the weekly, monthly consolidation. So keep an eye. Keep an eye on the term I'm using. Consolidation, not crash, right? So overall, the bulls are in full control, guys. It's just they need to consolidate eventually to be able to move back up. You can see, guys, RSI on NVIDIA now below our overbought levels. Finally, for, it's been a while, right? Even on the daily, well below our overbought averages, right? So good consolidation by NVIDIA, but just keep an eye, guys. Keep an eye on this level. 404 is going to be absolutely crucial. All right, now let's go on to Tesla. Tesla as well, bulls playing decent defense. You guys can see since pretty much Monday, not able to flush the 242. It's been a few times now. We've been trying to flush the 242. Why is it so hard for them? Well, it's our weekly higher low, right? Zoom out to the weekly higher low, and also weekly 12 EMA here. So playing some good defense around this level, but cutting it very close, guys. In my opinion, if this does bottom out here and we do get a bit of a recovery, may end up being a tightening range. Why? Because the bears have taken back almost the entire last weekly move. So at that point, you may expect a tightening range before a potential further breakout to the upside here. If we do break down below 240, keep an eye on my sweet spot 230 all the way down to 210. Why do I get that area? Monthly consolidation. Okay. So if we lose this weekly higher low, right? Lose the weekly higher lows, monthly consolidation is underway, right? You can see Tesla's already pulled back quite decently here, but tons of space above 152 to set the monthly higher low before resuming higher. So just keep an eye on this for Tesla, guys. Next level is very, very, very crucial. And for the bulls to reverse this, guys, I need to see a push to 265. Need to see a push to 265 that creates enough space to get a potential higher low above this low right here and push to the upside. But for now, Tesla just trying to play defense, key level approaching here. PayPal doing a beautiful job here of kind of doing its bottoming process, just like Apple, right? So since Monday, pretty much really unable to push below the 62 area. So it's all going to be in the size of the bounce, right? So PayPal kind of bottoming out right here. You can see RSI is absolutely crushed. Even the 4 hours was crushed, but it's coming back a little bit. You are starting to see potentially the 4-hour bulls wanting to reverse the lower time frame. So I like to see the lower time frame starting to reverse. We'll keep an eye at it on the next few days, guys. Once this does bottom out, I want to see the size of the move. So move like that and reverses back down to the downside, you end up like something like this, right? So we're going to measure the size of the moves. If they can create enough space here to potentially have space for a higher low and reverse the daily uptrend, that would be the best case scenario. But for now, still in the bottoming process on the daily time frame. We're going to take this thing one day at a time. And lastly, Palantir. Palantir has completely lost the daily uptrend at this point, right? Decent little day on Palantir, not, up about 1% here, but you really can't tell by the candle, but they are up in relation to yesterday's close. Yesterday was a disaster, right? 10.5%. So Palantir, what you're looking out for, guys, is just since it's a daily downtrend at this point, right? You're just looking for a lower high compared to our previous high. Any bounce will just be for further consolidation, in my opinion, especially when you get such a big engulfing move. very abnormal to just be able to V-shape this, right? So just looking out for that. Weekly consolidation well underway on Palantir. We do have a bit of space though, 1362. So keep an eye, 1362 now is the most crucial level for me. Next week is going to be key for Palantir because if we start pulling back into here, guys, it will be monthly consolidation is underway. My sweet spot for Palantir, guys, is always between 13-ish to $12. So if we do come down to this little pocket, I will be writing some options. But for now, guys, the bears do control the daily time frame, so we're going to give them some space to work with here. They haven't set the daily downtrend yet. You would need to see something like this, but in my opinion, it is most likely to come. So just keep an eye on that. Be patient and keep an eye on my level for Palantir, $13 to $12. So that was pretty much it for today's video, guys. I hope you appreciated it. Tomorrow we'll do the portfolio recap. CPI, good. Day was a bit of a sell-off, bit of a mixed market, mixed reaction, right? But all in all, decent consolidation, guys, right? It's very good that inflation didn't rise and that the markets didn't fall off a cliff, right? The narrative is good, right? Even though Jerome Powell has a bit of room now to increase rates into the next meeting, the overall trend of inflation is down. And don't forget, 90%, 85 to 90% of this entire report, the reason it was up was because of housing, and housing is a lagging indicator. Housing and rents will be coming down as supply of housing and rents increases over the next year, right? It's just that real estate is a very slow market and it tends to be last to the action in terms of asset sell-offs and asset recessions, right? So it is coming. So I do expect the trend in inflation to continue to the downside. So I hope you guys had a great day today. Happy trading tomorrow on Friday. If you liked the video, consider dropping a like. Consider subscribing to the channel as well. I really appreciate it, guys. Any questions, always feel free to write me in the comments. Take care. See you tomorrow after the close. Peace.